Very much for that. Ben, let's bring you back on, and you're looking at agents of chaos.
Absolutely. And specifically the question, are GB News, its presenters, its financial backers and other people in its orbit deliberately trying to cause breakdown in society for their own benefit?
Or are they change agent puppets being used?
All that. But actually, are they just actually trying to? Are they making money out of this situation that's being constructed around us in society? And well, let's have a little look. Specifically, I'm focusing on this guy. This is Paul Marshall, Sir Paul Roderick Clucas Marshall, should I say? British hedge fund manager, estimated net worth of over £800 million. Major funder and backer of GB News, owner of Unheard. He bought The Spectator. He tried to buy The Telegraph. Massive figure in what could be called the right-wing nationalist media space. Extremely powerful and influential. Importantly, and I mentioned this on the news last year. I'm just going to reiterate it because I think this is incredibly pertinent given what's going on around us at the moment. His wealth primarily came from a hedge fund called Marshall Wace that was started through a 50-50 joint venture with George Soros. George Soros is this guy, founder of Open Society Foundations, giving away more than $32 billion to fund that network. It's about opening up societies, breaking down borders, promoting mass migration, and the associated social and cultural transformation of Western nations in particular. Massive donor to Black Lives Matter over the years, and also importantly to this organisation, International Rescue Committee, again, that I spoke about last year, led by David Miliband, currently former Foreign Secretary under Tony Blair. And IRC is about supporting refugees coming into the UK and helping them integrate into British society. Yeah, that's what IRC is about. And GB News, backed by Paul Marshall, is very concerned about the migrant crisis that is happening as a consequence of the activity of people like George Soros and the International Rescue Committee. And ultimately, these are backed by the same man, right? So George Soros is putting money into IRC and left-wing figures like David Miliband, and also creating supposedly right-wing nationalist billionaires like Paul Marshall, who's then marshalling these media assets to push that political agenda. And what's that causing in society? It's causing chaos. Yeah. Chaos and breakdown, conflict on the streets. This is a picture from August last year, the riots across the north of England. And this creates huge opportunities for international investors to come in and buy up assets on the cheap, whether that's property or companies, whatever it might be, selling technologies to the biosecurity state. So, for example, if you're a big shareholder in one of the companies building digital ID systems, then that would be quite good for you if this happened. And also betting against the banking system, importantly, right? Because George Soros, we go back to 1992, very famously was described as the man who broke the Bank of England. This was Black Wednesday in 1992, 33 years ago, next week, actually. And essentially, he didn't actually break the Bank of England. The people running the Bank of England broke the Bank of England. George Soros just made about £1 billion on the day.
As you do.
And as you do, from basically betting against the bank, short selling the pound. And he's at it. This is his MO. It's one of the things that he does to make his money, the billions that he's made over the years. Paul Marshall does it as well, as you would expect. So Marshall Wace hedge fund made $36 million, not quite $1 billion, but still not a bad day's work, actually, betting on the collapse of Banco Espírito Santo back in 2014 as a Portuguese bank. So he was short selling, and this is still a strategy that Marshall Wace used. This is a classic hedge fund strategy. They talk about it on their website. So, should we assume that Wace and his company are betting against the British economy?
I think the man on the Clapham omnibus may think that.
I think they probably would have to think that. It makes sense. And actually, it might be irresponsible of him not to bet on the collapse of the British economy. You know what I mean?
I take the point, Ben.
No, like as someone running a hedge fund, maybe he has to do that. But then at the same time, he's got media platforms that are pushing breakdown in British society. They're building a narrative of civil war, civil conflict, people fighting on the streets, and actually and very specifically a financial crisis. So this is not actually from GB News. This is from Jacob Rees-Mogg's personal YouTube channel. But Rees-Mogg is a high-profile GB News presenter as well as being a Conservative politician. He's on GB News twice a week. He has a show called State of the Nation. And what he's talking about here in his own YouTube channel is not just if there's going to be a financial crisis, but the fact that there is one, and he's actually querying how serious it's going to be. Yeah. So he's actually saying that this has already happened, right? And he's also talking about jumping ship to reform, interestingly. And GB News are working hand in glove with reform at the moment. In fact, it's impossible to separate the two organisations, really, because you've got Farage and Lee Anderson earning hundreds of thousands of pounds. They're both reform members of Parliament. They're earning huge amounts of money from reform from GB News, have been for several years now. And what's reform all about? Well, let's take a little look at what happened at the Reform Conference over the weekend. That's Andrea Jenkins, former Conservative Member of Parliament, currently Reform Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire.
And singer.
Let's say she probably shouldn't give up her day job, right? I mean, I don't even know what she's like as a politician, but that was amateur hour. And, wearing a spangly jumpsuit. And, what is that? Is that a serious political party?
But all of this razzmatazz is to capture the audience, to bring people in my opinion.
Well, I don't know who he's bringing in, but if you're an international investor, if you're looking at putting money into the UK or backing our economic system or thinking about the how robust our society and our economy is and is going to be into the future, then promoting that as the new wave of political leadership in the country is not what you would be doing. Yeah. So it strikes me that they're deliberately trying to make us look like a laughing stock, quite frankly, and actually the singing didn't end there. I know Mike didn't want to show this, but we are just going to have a little listen to Andrew Jenkins and the Reform leadership singing the national anthem as well.
God save our gracious King, long live
So I think we should have put out a warning before that was shown, Ben. It was utterly dreadful. What is going on? This has got to be a front to draw people in and to ultimately control them. But notice the corruption of our national flag presented in different colours with the word change strapped across it. So I think we're beginning to get a real insight now into what this political party is and where it is going to go. I'm sure you do more